Hello, Oilers fans, and welcome to another edition of the Day After Discussion series that has been on a bit of a hiatus over the last month or so, just due to a whole bunch of different circumstances, but I'm very happy to come back and do one of these Day After Discussions. Now, it's not going to be solely focused on the Oilers and Vegas Golden Knights game from yesterday, where Edmonton won 6-3, but I will be focusing on quite a few things from that game specifically, but a lot of this discussion today is just going to be about the team as a whole. I'm going to be talking about Leon Draisaitl. I'm going to be talking about Stuart Skinner, Darnell Nurse, and just kind of how the team has been performing since November 9th when they beat Vancouver 7-3 and why that was kind of the turning point of the season for me and what it looks like to be the turning point of the season for the Edmonton Oilers. If you end up enjoying this Day After Discussion, make sure to smash the like button. If you want me to keep doing these consistently, I need to see that support, of course. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel and you want to remain subscribed or be a new subscriber and join a wonderful, loving community here, peace and love all the time. We uplift each other here, always nothing but positives. You can smash the subscribe button and tell all your friends. We're building something special here. We recently passed 4,200 subscribers, and we're already almost at 4,300 subscribers. So for all the new people who have subscribed recently, thank you so much. It does not go unnoticed. And for those who always comment on all my videos, I do try and acknowledge every single comment on here. So thank you all very much. For those of you who might be new to the Day After Discussions, and just as a friendly reminder to my returning viewers, every single timestamp will be available. So if there's any specific topic that you just want to skip to in the video and hear me talk about, the timestamp will be available. You'll be able to just click on that timestamp from the description of the video and then skip to where you want to be. This is a long intro. I do apologize. Before I get into the actual Day After Discussion, there's a couple things I want to touch on. Number one, a lot of you had mentioned in yesterday's post-game fan reaction that it was Vegas that initiated the challenge on the 5-2 goal, where Stone had made contact with Stuart Skinner. Now, when I watched the condensed game, Sportsnet doesn't show that. Like, they showed the goal, and I thought it was called a goal on the ice, and I thought the Oilers had challenged, but no, on the ice, the call on the ice, the officials said no goal for goalie interference. Vegas challenged that, and they overturned the call that the officials made, and I am absolutely shocked at that, because if the call on the ice was no goal, I don't see enough evidence there to actually overturn it. I tried to play devil's advocate yesterday, but once everyone informed me of what actually happened and I went back and watched it and I found clips of the actual Vegas challenge and then the logic of how they overturned that call, I don't really agree with it at all. Like I had mentioned in yesterday's video, no matter what the call was on the ice, I didn't think you would have enough evidence to overturn it either way. So the fact that the league thought that there was enough evidence to overturn that initial call on the ice is a little bit baffling to me. And then the next thing I want to talk about, and something I did not discuss in yesterday's video, was the Jack Eichel cross-check on Mattias Ekholm. Now, I specifically didn't talk about that hit yesterday because I wanted to talk about it today. I wanted to have my brain clear. I was pretty emotionally reactive to that hit yesterday, and I'm also going to compare it to a recent hit and a game ejection to Quinn Hughes off the Vancouver Canucks when they recently played the Ottawa Senators, and try and understand the logic of officiating in the NHL, because to me there is no logic. This hit by Eichel on Mattias Ekholm is so bad, and we're going to take a look at it. I know it's going to suck to watch because it's pretty ugly. Now, obviously, Eichel, he's going in. He wants body position. Now, if he just ties up Ekholm with his stick here, he's in a good position where you can lean on him, you can tie up the stick, you can kind of put one hand on the player and maybe just kind of bring him into the boards. I know Brian Burke used to be a huge advocate for what he called the bear hug, where you just kind of wrap your arms around a player and bring them into the boards to prevent these like high danger collisions into the boards, especially from distance. However, the league and other GMs were never, part of that. Go watch some old interviews with Brian Burke. He's pretty old school, but he was also very forward thinking in how he saw player safety. So Eichel and Ekholm, they're going for the puck. Eichel decides he wants to take the body instead, and he cross-checks Ekholm, and that's such a bad hit. Like, I hate watching this, but I have to just reverse it here. Two hands on the stick, cross-checks Ekholm into kind of his side, kind of like the hip area, but it's still a cross-check. He cross-checks him, and it's 5 feet from the boards, a very, very dangerous play. It's just such a bad hit, and I think the Oilers fans are very lucky that Ekholm ended up being okay for the most part. He's probably pretty sore today, if I'm going to be honest. Now, it's a bad hit. And look at Eichel. He slouches his arms. Look at him. He knows it's a bad hit. Look, he knows it's a bad hit. And this ref, look at him. He's just, what is this ref doing? Whatever school he went to, whatever eyesight he has, whether he's wearing contact lenses, whatever the case is, he needs to get his money back. He absolutely needs to get a refund. Something is failing this official right here. Eichel knows that that is a bad hit. He knows. He knows that he should be in the box, and at minimum, that's a 5-minute major to me. You cannot hit a player like that from that distance with that amount of force and expect to get no call, and Jack Eichel got away with it. And look at Eichel. He's letting him know, sorry, man. Geez. Come on, guys. Don't come after me. I didn't mean. No, of course you meant it, Jack. Like, of course Eichel meant it. Like, maybe he didn't mean for the actual result, but you're playing with fire when you make that type of contact with a player that far away from the boards. Bouchard wanted to come in, and then there was a bit of a scrum here. Here's another angle of it, and it's just such a bad hit, man. Look at this. It's such a bad hit. And, of course, onus is on the player to not lay a hit like that, but also when it comes to player safety, NHL officials have to be much better than that official who was just watching the play. I don't even know the official's name. I could go and look at scouting the refs, but oh my God, just a terrible, terrible hit. Now, Eichel did not get a penalty for boarding here. He did not get a game misconduct, and he likely is not even going to get fined or suspended by the league. Now, let's compare that with a recent hit by Hughes. Hold on. Oh, geez. I love Twitter so much. So Hughes, is it Norris that he hit? I can't tell who that is on Ottawa. It's tough to tell here. Just brutal. Just brutal. Quinn Hughes, he comes in, he cross-checks the Ottawa Senator player, it is Norris, into the boards, and it's way closer to the boards, too. It's not even as far away or as dangerous of a spot on the ice as Eichel's hit on Ekholm. But Hughes hits Norris into the boards, and Hughes got the call on the ice was a 5-minute major, game misconduct, and then they reviewed the play, and then they upheld it. So after the review, they were like, yeah, that's 5-minute major. Do you know what the difference is between these two plays? And I'll give you a second. You can put your comment in the comment section below. Do you know what the difference is and why one was called a 5-minute major and why one was not? And I don't agree with this at all, but this is how the NHL is. One was called a 5-minute major because it resulted in a player bleeding, and the other one did not. Despite the fact that both hits are just terrible, and they should both be out of the game, they should both have been game misconducts. And for Hughes, is it a suspension? Probably not. For Eichel, is it a suspension? Maybe one game. Again, Eichel. It's not like Eichel and Hughes are dirty players. They don't have like a history like Hartman's hit on Bouchard. It's tough to give him the benefit of the doubt because of Hartman's extensive history with player safety. But Hughes hits Norris. Norris is cut on the face. That's an automatic 5-minute major, at least according to the league. That's in the league's eyes. That's a 5-minute major. Ekholm, he's not bleeding, therefore not a 5-minute major. Despite the fact that the hit, in my opinion, was worse, it was from a much more dangerous spot on the ice, and it could have resulted in a much, much worse injury. Ekholm could have absolutely broken his neck there. He could have busted his shoulder. There's so many things that could have went wrong with that specific hit. And same with the Hughes hit on Norris. I'm not trying to say that the Hughes hit on Norris wasn't bad. I did not like that hit by Eichel on Ekholm at all. And I wanted to address that today because I think player safety is an absolute joke in the NHL. NHL officials need to be held to a higher standard by not only the fans, but the league itself. And just terrible. Like, you can't have that, in my opinion. It's just so bad. I just absolutely hate it. Cannot stand it. And then the other thing I want to talk about as well, from last night's game at least, was the Stuart Skinner blunder to make it 5-3. Now, again, this isn't a situation where I talked about it in detail last night because I wanted to have a bit more time to collect my thoughts, really analyze the play, and then discuss it here. We're going to go to the NHL Edge Visualizer so that it gives you an idea of what I'm talking about here, because during this play, everyone is getting mad at Stuart Skinner, and maybe rightfully so. Skinner, obviously, he fumbled the puck. He needed to make a quicker play. But I'm going to play the Edge Visualizer all the way through once. I'm just going to let it play through. I'm not even going to talk. I'll let you guys just kind of watch where the players are on the ice, and then we're going to discuss this. So Vegas dumps it down. Edmonton, take a look at what's happening here. Look at Skinner behind his net. Skinner again. He's pressured by Howden. Howden, wraparound, goal. Now, we're going to replay this. And I'm going to go over my discussion and why I think the Oilers as a team are much more at fault than Stuart Skinner is on this specific play. Stuart Skinner, yes. Should he have moved the puck quicker? Of course he should have. However, the Edmonton Oilers, their line change was so slow. there was absolutely no support. There was no hustle to get back and support Stuart Skinner. And the fact that Howden was able to just put that much pressure on him. So puck's coming down. Now, Skinner likely assumes, and he shouldn't assume, but he likely assumes Bouchard is going to come back. There was still about 40 seconds left on the power play. He's probably assuming Bouchard's going to come back and collect this puck. That's not what happened. Bouchard goes for a change. And then, we have a fire sale now. Everybody is going for a change here. And here's Draisaitl. He's thinking about coming back on the back check, but look at him. He decides, no, he cuts straight up. And look at what's going on here. Look how many Oilers are on the ice. If Stuart Skinner throws the puck around the left boards into this pile of bodies that are just on the ice, there's players coming on, players going off. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are currently 8 Oilers players on the ice. If Skinner throws that puck around the boards and any of those Oilers touch the puck, they are going to get dinged for too many men. So Skinner, he hesitates. He goes, I can't throw the puck over there yet until that change happens. And then Ekholm, he takes a wide angle here. Ekholm should have been driving through a little bit closer, giving him a little bit more close support. Now, Skinner, he decides maybe if I go around the right boards, someone will be there. Because Draisaitl initially was, but Draisaitl, he's going off the ice, and it is just a slow, bad change. And then again, look at the Oilers. There are 4 Oilers still not even in the Oilers zone. Well, technically there's 2, and then Nurse is coming onto the ice. But the Oilers, by the time Howden grabs this puck behind the net, steals it from Skinner, who kind of slides way out of position. There is, look at this open ice. Look at this open space. Howden had all the time in the world to do whatever he wanted because the Oilers gave Stuart Skinner zero support. I don't know if anyone remembers, I think it was last year on Ottawa. Jonas Korpisalo was in net for Ottawa, and a very similar thing happened. He's holding the puck behind his net, and he's waiting for his defenders and his forwards to come back and support so that he has someone to give the puck to. He leaves the puck behind the net, and then he starts banging his stick, and he starts swearing and freaking out, and everyone was making fun of Korpisalo at the time. But as a player on the ice, you've got to give your goaltender an option. You've got to help them out. Yes, I agree. Stuart Skinner absolutely needs to make a play here. He needs to make a better play at least. Should he have thrown it into bodies? Maybe like that. What do you do here? It's just a massive humanity by the benches for the change. Likely didn't even see Howden initially. Draisaitl, this is where Draisaitl, he should have, I saw Howden here. Draisaitl sees him. What Draisaitl should have done here was follow Howden into the defensive zone. Yes, you might get a little bit of a later change than you would like, but every player, it's like they're like, oh, Skinner has the puck. It is now a safe time to change. Well, no, I don't agree with that. I think the team is at fault over Stuart Skinner on this specific goal against. It looks bad because of the optics, and we know how bad Skinner is at playing the puck behind his net. But at the end of the day, the team overall needed to give him more support there. So those are my thoughts on a couple plays from last night's game specifically. And I just wanted to discuss that. The Skinner play, the Eichel play, and the goaltender interference. Now let's get into some of the day after discussion that I do want to talk about here today. Everything, like I said, is going to be timestamped. Our topics for discussion today: this team is defensively elite. I'm talking about the Edmonton Oilers. Yes, it's a little bit strange to hear sometimes, and if you're a fan of another team watching, you're going to be like, I don't understand how this team is defensively elite, but the Oilers are. Their shot suppression has been incredible. They don't give up nearly as many high-danger chances, although it's funny because if you look at the high-danger Corsi 4 from last night, the Oilers were absolutely torched in that department. But again, bit of a one-off. Edmonton dominated a game against Vegas a week and a half ago. They lost 1-0. Maybe Vegas deserved a little bit better in this one. Doesn't matter. The hockey world, things even out. Everything balances. So that's just my thoughts on that. Second topic will be Leon Draisaitl is the NHL's best center. Now, I did talk about this in a recent video. Link to that is in the description below. But I do want to talk a little bit more about Leon Draisaitl and my thoughts on his overall play, because he is, in my opinion, not only is he the best center, but he is the best player in the league right now, and he is my Hart front runner, and he's my Selke front runner, Ted Lindsay front runner, Rocket Richard front runner. I think Leon Draisaitl absolutely deserves to be in the conversation for all of the major awards right now. Then we're going to talk about Darnell Nurse being Edmonton's best defenseman. And I would say basically since November 1st onward, Darnell Nurse is Edmonton's best defender. We're going to discuss his play overall, his impact on the team, and how much that is being reflected in the Edmonton Oilers winning hockey games, being 12-3-1 in their last 16 games. So Darnell Nurse being one of the best defenders on the team, if not the best defenseman, is really good to see, and I could not be happier. We're going to do a Stuart Skinner appreciation post. I'm going to dive into his stats over his last 8 games and how he's really turned the season around, and maybe the Four Nations being a little bit of a pressure cooker for him. Now that he wasn't named to the Four Nations Cup team for Canada, he's able to just kind of focus on his game, and he looks much calmer in the crease. He's been giving the Oilers a chance to win every single night, and you love to see it. And then we are going to discuss the Stanley Cup Final rematch that is on tap for tomorrow against the Florida Panthers at 6:30 p.m. Mountain, which I think we're all looking forward to. That is going to be such a good game. And I think it's going to be a chippy game. It's going to be a nasty game, and both teams are going to have a lot to prove. Florida, just like Edmonton this season, they've struggled a little bit with goaltending consistency, and they've struggled at finding consistency in the win column. So for the Florida Panthers and Edmonton Oilers, another litmus test game for the Oilers, another measuring stick game. The Oilers have passed their first 3 tests in this 4-game gauntlet. They've beaten Vegas, they've beaten Minnesota, they've beaten Tampa Bay. Let's see if Edmonton can beat Florida on Monday. So let's get going here. First major topic of discussion, this team is defensively elite. The Edmonton Oilers in their last 16 games have given up just 39 goals. They have a almost 920 save percentage at 5-on-5. And their shot suppression has been wonderful. Their high danger Corsi 4 since this run of 16 games started is at close to 60%. It's at 59 point something percent. Can't remember what the exact number is on Natural Stat Trick, but they don't give up a lot of high danger chances against. They're getting some saves. Their special teams has turned it around, but at 5-on-5, their shot suppression, their goal suppression has been immaculate. It's been incredible to watch. The Edmonton Oilers are an absolute wagon right now. They are 12-3-1 in the last 16 games played, 64 goals for, and only 39 goals against. And in that time, that ranks 5th best. So the Oilers, since November 7th, that's when this run started against Vancouver, they've given up 39 goals. That is 5th best in the entire NHL. This team has figured it out. They figured it out under Chris Knobloch. Paul Coffey has worked wonders with his defensive core. A lot of us earlier in the year, including myself, complaining about the player personnel, complaining about different decisions that were made, complaining about different players that the Oilers let walk, different players that they brought in. Were they worth it? It just took some time, I guess. Honestly, it just took some time for certain players to just get familiar with the system, get acclimated to the new environment, and then play to the best of their ability, play to the level that we know that they can play. The Edmonton Oilers during the Stanley Cup playoffs were also very stingy. Their big problem in the playoffs during numerous games was just inconsistent goaltending. But when the goaltending is there, this team gives up nothing. They gave up 1 goal to the Tampa Bay Lightning, one of the best offensive teams in the NHL. They gave up 1 goal to the Minnesota Wild, one of the best offensive teams in the NHL, and they gave up just, it was 1 goal to the Colorado Avalanche as well recently. And again, that's one of the NHL's best teams, especially on offense. Like, the Edmonton Oilers are holding some of these really high-octane offenses to basically nothing. And not only nothing, but they're also holding them to very little shots on goal. That 1-0 loss to Vegas a week and a half ago, the Oilers only gave up 18 shots. Like, they are not getting outshot in the majority of these games. The Oilers are not only pushing play, but they're preventing anything from going in on their own side, and they are making life miserable for their opponents, especially with the neutral zone play as well. It's been really good to see. I've been very happy with it. And if Edmonton is able to sustain this, yes, they're on a little bit of a PDO heater since November 7th. Their PDO is at about 103, so things are going to even out. Either the shooting percentage will slightly come down, or the save percentage will come down a little bit. But what makes me think that this is more sustainable than maybe previously is because of how rough the start to the year was. How many goals they were giving up when they shouldn't have been, how many goals that they weren't scoring that they should have been scoring. Things always find a way to even themselves out when you're pushing play as much as Edmonton does. Their expected goals for has been in the top 5 all season long. High danger Corsi 4 has been in the top 5 all season long. And it took a little bit of time for this to, sort itself out, for the team to start scoring, for the team to stop giving up so many goals. But this is also a good sign as well, and it's also reflective of how the team plays its system. Like I said, they are stingy in the neutral zone. They do not give up very much at all, if anything, honestly. Last night against Vegas, bit of a different story. Vegas had a lot of good looks. Stuart Skinner had to be really, really sharp. He had to be on his A game. Yes, there was the one blunder, but other than that, Stuart Skinner finished with a 1.6 goals saved above expected. And if he's able to do that consistently for this team, I find it hard to believe that they're going to lose more games than they win moving forward. The Oilers are now 18-10-2 on the year, and they're only 3 points out of first in the Pacific Division. Would have been nice to beat Vegas in that 1-0 loss, because if they had beaten Vegas, they would likely be second or even first in the Pacific at this point. Now, the LA Kings are also ahead of the Oilers or tied in the standings. So there's a 3-horse race for first in the Pacific, and that's Edmonton, LA, and Vegas. Quite the gauntlet there. LA has been a lot better than I thought they would be, but Edmonton's right up there. Edmonton is up there on the defensive side of the game as well. Paul Coffey and Chris Knobloch's system is working wonders, and you can see it when we watch it. I've even said this numerous times. Sometimes the team looks like it's a bit boring at certain points, but that's also a good sign. If the team is boring, they're not giving up a lot, that means the opponents probably feel the same way. And if you're an opponent and you feel bored against the Oilers, that's probably frustrating. Couldn't imagine being on the other side of that, trying to break through that defensive wall that the Oilers have in that neutral zone and being able to produce absolutely nothing when you're used to just scoring at will against other teams. I love it. As an Oilers fan, I've been craving this style of hockey for a long time. Even when the Oilers were scoring a lot of goals under Jay Woodcroft, it felt chaotic. Games felt chaotic. Were they exciting? Absolutely. Was I always on the edge of my seat during the Jay Woodcroft coach Oilers? Absolutely. But I kind of like that sometimes now I feel like I'm bored during games. But the Oilers have the lead when this happens, and they continuously control play, and that's a good thing. This is the style of hockey that you have to play to win meaningful games in April, May, and June. So let's see if the Oilers are able to continue to sustain this. Sorry, I'm blubbering my words there. All right, we're going to move on to the next topic of discussion, and that is Leon Draisaitl. Leon Draisaitl has been absolutely incredible. He has 13 points in his last 5 games, including 5 goals. He's up to 22 goals in 30 games played this season. That is best in the NHL. He also has 7 game-winning goals this year. Again, also first in the NHL. He has a plus-minus of plus 18. That is first among all centermen in the NHL. He has 18 even-strength goals. That is first place in the NHL among center. For even-strength points, he is behind Nathan MacKinnon in terms of centermen. MacKinnon has 36 even-strength points, and Draisaitl has 33. And then power play points, Leon Draisaitl, he's way down. He ranks 9th in power play points. So everything that Leon Draisaitl is doing right now has been at 5-on-5. We used to talk about him being a power play merchant, a McDavid merchant, but let's kind of discuss Draisaitl's impact with and without McDavid this season. Some interesting numbers. Sid, NHL Sid on Twitter or X.com. He also writes for Oilers Nation. He put out this tweet last night with this little graphic. Draisaitl with McDavid this year. Their goal share, 75%. That's absolutely outrageous. Expected goal share, 69%. Again, absolutely outrageous. Also, nice. High danger chance share, 68%. But if you look at Draisaitl without McDavid, he still has a 57% goal share. Very, very good. 55% expected goal share. Very, very good. And a high danger chance share of 60%. So Leon Draisaitl without Connor McDavid at 5-on-5 has been just incredibly elite this year. But if you look at McDavid without Draisaitl now, McDavid without Draisaitl, the goal share is 45%. Expected goal share, 54%. High danger chance share, 57%. Now, the big thing here is McDavid, when he's on the ice without Draisaitl, still controlling play in the expected goal share and the high danger chance share. But the actual goals, Zach Hyman because of his slow start, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins because of his slow start, that brings down the actual goal share for Connor McDavid. But I think, the fact that there's a narrative here where you can be like, oh, maybe McDavid is a Draisaitl merchant instead of Draisaitl being a McDavid merchant. I just thought it was kind of fun to point out. I wanted to show this graphic. Leon Draisaitl, he absolutely should be the front runner for the Hart Trophy right now. He was able to continue to produce for the team when Connor McDavid went down with injury. Now, I know McDavid did not miss many games. He only missed 3 games, but Leon Draisaitl, he's done this his whole career. Whenever McDavid has to miss a game, whether it's a game here or there, I know in that 1920 COVID-shortened season, Draisaitl, that's the year he won the Hart, Ted Lindsay, and the Art Ross. Leon Draisaitl was producing without Connor McDavid, and he puts the team on his back when he's on the ice and McDavid is not in the lineup. And he always has. And a lot of fans around the league will not give him his flowers for whatever reason. But Leon Draisaitl this season, if he sustains this into January, into February, into March, I have no idea how anyone could argue for anyone over Leon Draisaitl for the Hart Trophy, for the Selke Trophy too. His defensive metrics have been absolutely incredible as well. His face-off percentage, face-off wins. He's top 10 in face-off wins this season. He's top 10 in face-off percentage, minimum 500 face-offs taken. It's just, he's been unbelievable. He's been unbelievable. And for Oilers fans, we are very lucky that we get to watch him every single night. And the fact that he signed the contract that he did, a lot of fans from both sides, whether you're an Oilers fan or a fan from another team, a lot of fans questioning the amount of money that he's given. He will be the NHL's highest paid player beginning next season. But with this style of play, this type of play from Leon, he's hitting another level. And we've seen beast mode Leon. We've seen it. We look what he did on one leg during that Flames series in 2022. We have seen beast mode Leon Draisaitl. The one thing that eludes him is the Stanley Cup. Same with Connor McDavid. And if he even just scores one goal in that cup final against Florida, we likely have a much different discussion about that contract that he's signing. We likely have a much different discussion about where this team is. And we likely have a 6th Stanley Cup behind me here in this fake green screen room. So Leon Draisaitl has been unbelievable. He's the NHL's best center, and he's likely the NHL's best player right now. And if you want to see more on that, make sure to watch the video that I will link in the description below. Check it out. Let me know your thoughts as well. Speaking of really good players for Edmonton, maybe their best player in quite some time is Darnell Nurse, at least defensively. Darnell Nurse now leads the defensive group in plus minus this season. He's at a plus 10. And you know what's crazy to think about when it comes to that stat? He had been on the ice. I can't remember what the stat was. The first 30 goals that Edmonton gave up this season at any strength, I think Darnell Nurse was on the ice for 18 of them or 15. I can't remember what the stat was. I remember talking about it earlier in the season. Obviously, it's not always one player's fault when a goal goes against. There are other players on the ice. You have your goaltender, sometimes just unable to make a save. But Darnell Nurse, he has completely turned his game around, and it has allowed the Oilers to completely turn their game around. Basically, Darnell Nurse, it's like a switch was flipped, and not only did he suddenly become an elite defensive player, he's producing points. He's been very smart with his puck management. He's not just rushing plays. He's not just rushing shots. He's not rushing passes. If he doesn't like what he sees in front of him, he'll turn back with the puck. Darnell Nurse, we've seen him at his best. And when he's at his best, he likely is worth the $9.25 million that he's being paid. The problem is consistency. The problem is pressure to live up to that type of contract. The problem is a fan base that will not always acknowledge what a player is doing based on the money that they're making. We've seen it in years past with this team. We saw it with players like Sean Horkoff after that cup final run, Fernando Pisani. We saw that as well. And then, just different players over the years that they're given a certain contract. And if they're not able to consistently every single night produce, the fan base, they can become pretty intense. They can become pretty toxic. I am part of that. I acknowledge that. I've been very hard on Darnell Nurse. Last year, especially during the playoffs, man, if you go back and look at some of my videos from last year, the amount of times that I was absolutely dragging Nurse through the mud. Was it always warranted? Probably not. And I acknowledge that as a fan. I acknowledge my shortcomings when it comes to being overreactive sometimes, when it comes to being emotional because of that money that the player makes, instead of being able to acknowledge what they are able to do despite the money that they're making. A lot of times we get so caught up in the cap hit, we're forgetting about what the on-ice impact is. For Darnell Nurse, it was never the $9.25 million. His play was never living up to that, I should say, until now. In fact, I would say he might even be worth more than the $9.25 million. Let's restructure that contract. Time to give him $12 million. No, I'm just kidding. But for real, Darnell Nurse's play has been unbelievable. I'm giving him his flowers. I feel like I'm talking about Darnell Nurse after every single win. I'm usually talking about Nurse, a specific good play that he made. He doesn't always get the assist on it. He doesn't always get the plus for being on the ice for a goal. But a lot of times it's his decision-making that is allowing the team to maintain control of the puck, get it into an offensive zone, and then score a goal. Last night against Vegas, Janmark looked off Leon Draisaitl for a breakaway. But Darnell Nurse picked up the puck. He came in and he made such a nice backhand centering pass to Draisaitl, who ended up burying it for his 22nd of the year and what eventually became the game winner. That made it 4-0 at the time. The Oilers won 5-3. So that was the game winner. But Darnell Nurse is just, his defensive impacts have been unbelievable. His plus minus has been phenomenal. And it doesn't matter who he plays with. Initially, during this good run, we were all saying, oh, Brett Kulak has, solidified his game. Brett Kulak has been a good partner for Nurse. Well, it's not always Brett Kulak that's played next to him. Troy Stecher gets a lot of shifts with Darnell Nurse as well. In fact, he usually gets more shifts. And even Stetcher's playing good. I would argue that Darnell Nurse is actually elevating Stecher and likely could be elevating Brett Kulak as well. They've been phenomenal together. Darnell Nurse, he's eating more minutes now, and the penalty kill for Edmonton has also completely turned it around compared to that first month. Darnell Nurse is instrumental in that. He plays a ton of penalty kill minutes. Again, a couple of the power play goals that the Oilers have given up with Nurse on the ice have not entirely been his fault. A lot of times it's a squeaker that gets through. Sometimes it's a bad bounce. Darnell Nurse's play has been phenomenal. I'm so happy for him. I'm happy for the team. I hope he sustains this. And a lot of fans like to joke too that Ryan Reeves knocked, when Reeves knocked him out, it rewire Nurse's brain to be a good hockey player. Darnell Nurse was always a good hockey player. He was never a $9.25 million Victor Hedman in his prime style hockey player, but he was always good. But what we're seeing from Darnell Nurse now is something that we haven't seen even in the contract year where he was given that contract in the Canadian division. Yes, he scored a lot of goals, unsustainable shooting percentage. Nurse didn't play this well defensively at any point in his career. So whatever's going on with Nurse, Paul Coffey, Chris Knobloch, everyone deserves credit for the turnaround in his game, but the person who deserves the most credit for that turnaround is Darnell Nurse himself. We love Darnell Nurse here in Oil Country, and this team will not win a cup unless Darnell Nurse is playing at his absolute best. And right now, he's playing even better than his best. So this is a good sign for the Oilers moving forward. I wanted to talk about Nurse specifically. Been very happy with his game, and hopefully he's able to sustain that long-term here for the Edmonton Oilers. All right, moving on. Stuart Skinner appreciation. Stuart Skinner in his last 8 games has 6 wins. We're going to pull up a stat here for you guys. Stuart Skinner is 6-2-0 in 8 games with a goals against average of 2.15 and a save percentage of .925 in his last 8 games. Stuart Skinner has completely changed the narrative in Oil Country when it comes to the goaltending. Not only is he winning games, he also looks calm in his crease. When Stuart Skinner is not looking chaotic, he's not shaking around a lot. A lot of times we see him, he looks very reactive and it looks like he's guessing. And that's when he's at his worst. That's when he's struggling. He's giving up a lot of goals. Stuart Skinner right now, he's being very technical. He looks like a technical goalie. He's not moving a lot. He's in position. He's set. He's ready for shots. Stuart Skinner has always been a good goalie that when he's set and in position, he makes a ton of saves. 10 out of 11 shots he will save if he is set and in position. It's when they get him moving. It's when other teams are getting him to move side to side, the lateral movement, and sometimes he does lose the net behind him. He'll come out, cut an angle too much. And a lot of times, too, he stays too far back in his crease, especially when there's a lot of pressure, if there's a cycle going on by the opponent. But Stuart Skinner is not doing that right now. He has been very good at his decision-making, where he needs to be in his crease. I think it was an unfortunate play last night where he kind of fumbled the puck and then Vegas made it 5-3 shorthanded. Not entirely on Stuart Skinner, in my opinion. That's a little bit on Skinner, but at the end of the day, his play has been terrific. He is playing like a number 1 goaltender. And for all the freak out of Edmonton's goaltending, it has been the least of this team's concern over the past month or so. Yes, there are games where they've given up more goals than they should. But even after that 1-0 loss to Vegas, I saw a lot of fans being like, oh, Stuart Skinner was the second best player again, or second best goalie. That's outrageous. Anytime your team is shut out, I think it's outrageous to ever blame the goaltender, because players are just as important in your team winning as your goalie. And if they don't score a goal, how do you expect your goalie to steal you a game? Where you just expect a 0-0 game going into a shootout and then hoping for the best? Like, that type of attitude, I will never, ever subscribe to. A lot of times I've been hard on Skinner. I've been hard on the team when it comes to their goaltending. I know certain teams have made trades for goalies this year. Colorado picked up Blackwood and Wedgwood, and I really wanted Blackwood from the San Jose Sharks. I thought he would have been a good goalie to platoon with Stuart Skinner. But if Skinner and Pickard, and it's not just Skinner either, Calvin Pickard has been great too, very consistent. The only time Pickard loses is if the team is shut out, and Calvin Pickard has been on the ice for 3 shutouts against. So for this goaltending tandem for Edmonton, should they still upgrade? Maybe, but it is not a concern right now where I think that should be their priority. I think their priority should definitely be shoring up defense and shoring up some depth scoring. Even though the depth scoring is showing up, once we get into crunch time later in the year, once we get into March and April and the playoffs start, assuming the team makes the playoffs, knock on wood, they will need more depth scoring. Yes, Hyman has turned his game around. Nugent Hopkins, he's scoring now. Kapanen's potted a couple for Edmonton. Podkolzin, he had goals in 3 straight. He's slowed down again, but what he does on the ice is good enough. Connor Brown's putting the puck in the net. Corey Perry has 6 goals this year. Corey Perry, man, he's probably going to score like 12 or 13 goals this year. That's hilarious to me. The old man still got some juice. You love to see it. But the team, they have other priorities that they can focus on as long as goaltending remains solid. Stuart Skinner, he's been very, very solid. So that's good to see. I hope Stuart Skinner is able to continue this strong play for the team because, again, just like with Darnell Nurse, the team does not win games unless they are at their absolute best. Stuart Skinner looks like he did during games 4 through 7 of every playoff series last June. So hopefully he's able to continue that. Great for Stuart Skinner. Stuart Skinner appreciation post. We love Stu, and I'm glad that the team has been patient with him. He's still very young. He's only in his 3rd full NHL season. We have to remember that. A lot of goalies sometimes don't turn elite right away. So is he considered in the top echelon of goaltenders? No. Is he considered in the bottom half of the league in terms of goaltenders? No. I think he's kind of middle of the pack, but that's all Edmonton needs sometimes. It's just give us a .905, a .910 save percentage every single night. The offense should be able to get the job done, and then you win as a team. And of course, if you end up losing, it's likely because the offense didn't show up, or sometimes you have a blow-up game too. Stuart Skinner's had a couple of those this year. But if you take out that 6-0 loss to the Winnipeg Jets, if you take out that 6-1 loss to the Columbus Blue Jackets, if you take those 2 games out of the equation here, Stuart Skinner has been just fine this season. He's been just fine. He's been more than good enough, and we love to see it. All right, before we end things here, before we close things out, I do want to do a quick touch on the Stanley Cup Final rematch tomorrow. The Oilers play the Florida Panthers. We're going to kind of take a look at some of the stats heading into it. This is not an official pregame report. I will still have an official pregame report up tomorrow morning before the game, so keep an eye out on that. But I do want to talk about, where both teams are at. They're very similar. They both have 38 points in the standings. Florida has played 1 more game than Edmonton. This game is on Amazon Prime. The Oilers have played 2 games on Amazon Prime this season, and they lost both of those games 3-0. They lost to New Jersey Devils 3-0, and of course, the game that I went to in Montreal, they also lost 3-0. So hopefully the Oilers can stop this shutout streak that they've had on Amazon Prime hockey night games, and in the last 5 games here, Florida, Matthew Tkachuk has 7 points, 3 goals, and Sam Reinhart with 4 assists. But if you look at Leon Draisaitl in his last 5 games, 13 points, 5 goals, 8 assists. Leon Draisaitl is red hot. He is playing at a level that we have not seen before. I guess I should say McDavid has 8 assists in those 5 games, but so does Draisaitl. 5 goals plus 8 assists. That's 13 points. And if you look at the team stats here, I'm kind of in the way. I'm going to move my big ass head here. Give me 1 second. Going to move my big ass head way to the left of the screen. If we look at the team stats, power play percentage, Edmonton's ranks 14th. Florida's ranked 7th. Penalty kill, Edmonton, again, it was such a bad start to the season, but it is climbing, 26th in the league. Florida, very good, 81.3%. For 10th. Face-off percentage, the Oilers, 3rd best team in the league in face-offs. Goals for per game, Edmonton sitting at 3.23, which is 11th best. Florida, 6th best. Florida is a very good offensive team. They have tons of depth this year. Goals against per game, though, this is where Florida starts to crumble a little bit. Their goaltending has not been consistent this year. Same with the Oilers, even though Edmonton is now a top 10 team in goals against per game. That was something that was plaguing Edmonton earlier this year as well. And if you look at both teams' last 10 games, for the Florida Panthers, they've beaten Seattle, San Jose, Philly, Carolina twice, and Toronto. They lost to Washington, Pittsburgh, Vancouver, and Calgary. The Florida Panthers are 0-2 on their Western Canada road trip right now. And after their loss to Calgary and Vancouver, I think, were they shut out both games? I can't remember if they've scored a goal or not. Either way, they're going to be pissed. They're going to want to come into Edmonton and absolutely turn that around because they are not used to that style of play. And again, no disrespect to Calgary or Vancouver, because Vancouver at their best, Calgary at their best, they're tough teams. They are tough teams, and they have been tough teams to play against. But for Florida, Western Canada road trip, they're 0-2 on it. They're coming in Edmonton. They're going to be very, very mad. If you look at the Oilers' last 10 games, they are 8-2. They've beaten Vegas, Minnesota, Tampa, St. Louis, Columbus, the Rangers, Utah, and Colorado. Their only 2 losses, that bad loss to Minnesota at home ice, and then the 1-0 loss to Vegas. Other than that, there's been 0 blemishes on the Oilers game lately, and I'm going to move my big head back to the right side of the screen so we can take a look at the goaltending stats for both teams here. Sergei Bobrovsky will likely get the start. He's 13-6-1, a .287 goals against, an .892 save percentage against Stuart Skinner, who's 11-7-2, .282 goals against, .897 save percentage, 1 shutout apiece for Skinner and Bobrovsky. Very similar teams. They're built similar styles. Cup final rematch. We're very much looking forward to it. I cannot wait. I'll go into a lot more depth and detail in tomorrow's pregame report. For now, we're going to end things. We're going to close things out. If you enjoyed today's day after discussion, please hit the like button. It absolutely goes a long way in pushing the YouTube algorithm to recommend my videos to other hockey fans. So thank you so much for all of your support. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet subscribed. We're nearing 41 minutes here, so I'm going to shut things down. Make sure you tell someone that you love them, Oil Country. And of course, always, always, always fight like a kid. Always fight like Ben. I wear this bracelet every single day from the Ben Stelter Foundation. Friendly reminder. It's always a reminder to me every time, if I'm having a rough day, whether it's at work, if the Oilers are having a rough game, I always look at this bracelet and it just kind of grounds me, makes me realize that there are so many more important things in life, especially around this time of year with Christmas, with families. It's just a good reminder to always focus on positives and not always the negatives. And something that I will be working on a lot in the new year, especially on social media. I'll try and be less emotionally reactive as well. Thank you for your support. It means the world. We'll see you soon, Oil Country. Take care.